You're listening to How I See It, hosted by Han. You guessed it, that's me. I am here to motivate and inspire you with guests from all different industries and backgrounds. So get ready for personal stories of success, of growth, full of highs and lows, and of course, unapologetic realness. This is How I See It. Okay, you guys, I am so excited. I have Laura Caruso here. She is a psychotherapist and relationship expert. She's been featured on HuffPost, Cosmopolitan, Refinery 20, and more. She's currently writing her book, The Empathy Deficit, and is the host of A Safe Space. I am so excited to have you. And it was so last minute in Kismet. I literally asked Laura to come here like this morning.
You caught me on a good day.
I know. I had a cancellation and I was like, who the hell am I going to get in here? And then it was divine. Thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to just kind of like dive into the work you do. And like I told you before, when we were off air, I love to kind of just take people back, especially people in the mental health space, because I'm like, there has to be a healing journey here. So if you could take us back, where'd you grow up? How'd you get here?
Well, we're going way back.
Oh, yeah.
I grew up in a very small suburban town in Jersey
Okay.
Shore, with a family who doesn't confront emotions, doesn't talk about any of these things. And I was always that trailblazer in my family who was pushing up against everyone's emotions, saying, hey, we're not connecting, obviously with different language as a kid.
Yeah.
But I was the one who was starting that in my family. And so I became a speech therapist originally. And when I told my parents I was going back to school to become a mental health therapist, my dad's response was, oh, fuck, because he knew.
Yeah.
I had been saying these same things since I was a kid. So working through my own mental health, because my relationships with my family were pretty much non-existent, I found myself in an abusive relationship in my early 20s. And then from there, like you said, the healing journey, right? It takes years upon years to unpack everything that I had experienced, to figure out what that actually meant, and then where I wanted to go from there.
Yeah,
Now
and do you think
therapist.
the abusive relationship, do you think is what made you start to focus on couples and relationships?
100%. I had a supervisor at the time. I said I was going to work with women. I wanted to work with maternal mental health, perinatal mental health, and she said, okay. And she just knew, right?
Yeah.
And the second I got my first relational trauma client, it was game over. That was it.
Wow. It's so funny. We have like a similarity. I feel like I was always the person in my family that felt like crazy.
Yeah.
And I think there was a lot of things perpetuating that. But I think one of them.
There was a little truth to me. I was a little crazy.
Yeah, I think, I feel like I'll take some blame as an adult, of course, for perpetuating my patterns. But back then, they were making me crazy.
100%.
Of course, I was living in this environment where things were said and then the opposite was done. I felt fucking crazy. But I think I was constantly trying to be the trailblazer in my family, especially as I got older and started pursuing my own healing. I was like, come on, people.
Catch up.
But I love that you've called it that. I did never call myself a trailblazer, but now I'm going to.
Yeah. And it's funny because my parents have changed so much because of it. I'm getting dinner with them tomorrow night. And the last time we went to this restaurant, it's so special for me now. Because the last time we were there, my dad had said, you radically transformed our marriage. Because I spent a few months at home and taught them what boundaries look like, right? And not because I explicitly said this is a boundary, but because I set them. And so by setting those boundaries, I got to shape how the relationship progressed, and they witnessed how much stronger it was.
Wow, that's super, I think, healing for you probably as well.
Oh, God. I think that reversed decades of childhood trauma.
Oh, that's so good. Okay, take me into what you're doing now. So you are officially working with couples. So I'm going to pick your brain about so much relationship stuff. But do you think that was kind of a part of your own healing, actually getting to work with other people and fix some of the patterns and choices that people were making?
Yeah, that same supervisor that I talked about told me, you don't get the clients you want, you get the clients you need. And there's so much truth to that, because I would always find clients would come into my caseload that would mimic where I am in my life. And right now I'm getting all sorts of clients, because I'm also in this transition period in my own life, trying to figure out what it is that I want to do, what direction I'm heading in. But I worked primarily with relational trauma. It was a lot of dating relationships. My caseload is much smaller now, but still relational trauma.
Okay, so your book is titled The Empathy Deficit.
Yeah.
That is so incredibly powerful. Can you explain a little to me why you called it and your kind of philosophy around healing and viewing interpersonal relationships?
Yeah.
And the one with ourselves.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're sitting at this intersection in society right now where everyone's so polarized and nothing productive can get done. There's no one bridging the gap. And even the people who are trying to bridge the gap are doing so unsuccessfully because we're so polarized that we can't empathize anymore. We're just standing firm in this belief system that maybe we don't even agree with at this point anymore, but we're so divided that we're in survival. Right? We're trying to protect ourselves. And so when you're in survival, you lose cognition in your brain. They've done fMRI studies where if you are in an activated, your nervous system is in an activated state, your prefrontal cortex, all of your higher level executive function skills, your literal cognition, gone. You have no access to that. And so that's where society is right now. It's so divided that we're all in survival mode. So we can't access higher level executive functioning.
Ugh.
We can't access cognition.
It's so powerful because I feel like, obviously, I'm not a therapist or have any background in education in that way, but I do feel like something I realized through like my own healing and like setting boundaries, to your point, and like putting this to practice for so many years now, is that like when I extend empathy to someone else, or I try to just see where someone is coming from instead of assuming the worst, because that was the way I was raised. Very much like, everyone's trying to hurt you. They breathe the wrong way. I need to like attack them now. They are obviously trying to hurt me. They do not care about me. I don't trust anyone. Like, I was so used to like jumping to conclusions. And then the moment I was able to, even when someone was unkind, be able to flex empathy, which is really fucking hard to do, and be able to be like, where is this coming from? Like, why do I think this is happening? It's obviously not about me. It's about them. I feel like the more I was able to meet, whether it was dating, friendship, my parents, my family, with empathy, the more I was able to heal and actually have like peace interpersonally.
Yeah, it's so funny because I experienced that last night on the phone with my mom, and she said something that made me think about the way I was talking to her, and I immediately, right, that inner child in me was like, screw you, Mom, and I didn't say it anymore because now I'm a 29-year-old adult. But I took a step back and I said, okay, you're right. You're right. I am talking to you that way, and that's not fair. So let's restart. And just doing that allowed us to restart, allowed us to actually hear what each other was trying to say. And we don't do that as a society anymore.
No.
And for you to do that, that's a testament to how much work you've done and just how far you are, because to not go right into that fight or flight state is incredible.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, it's so hard. It's gotten easier. It's still hard, but like, it's years and years and years of practice. And I think I've just tried to reframe it as like, you know, these people love me. Yeah. Like, they're not trying to hurt me. They're maybe not doing it the best way. Or maybe they, like, are fine and it's my head, you know? Like, I've just felt that empathy and extending empathy is, like, actually the greatest form of love that we can show to other people. And so I loved, when I saw the title of your book, I was like, that is so fucking good.
Yeah. It's the intersection of connection, empathy, and sociopolitics. So it looks at sociopolitical events from the last 10 years.
Well, and I think this goes into what I wanted to talk to you today about as well, which is that, like, love is a choice, an active choice. And this is part of it. I think, like, being able to, like, drop your ego and, like, apologize, or drop your ego and just, like, let someone be right, or let someone have a bad day and not jump to conclusions, is like a huge part of love. But I think also when we're committing to friendship, but like romantic relationships, like, love is a choice to show up to that. And this is one of the choices.
Absolutely. And a lot of people don't choose it. They just cross their fingers and hope they get lucky.
Do you think that's just stemmed from like the way we all see love portrayed everywhere, or laziness?
I think it's different. Do you know who Logan Ury is?
No.
Logan Ury, she was the host of a Netflix show, Later Daters. And so it was a bunch of people who were dating, maybe post-divorce, or maybe they were widows and they were dating. And Logan was teaching them how to date, right? These people haven't dated in decades. They had no idea what they were doing anymore. And dating is also different nowadays. But she said something recently about how modern dating, right, dating for courtship and dating for love really has only existed for, like, I don't want to get the number incorrect, so let's say 1 century. Before that, there was arranged marriages. You were dating because you had farmland, and agriculture was very wrapped up in it. We weren't dating for love, and now we are, and no one really knows what they're doing.
Yeah, I feel like for me it's kind of hard, but like in general, I feel like it's not hard to fall in love with someone. No. It's hard to sustain. It's hard to extend empathy. It's hard to like drop ego, and I think those are all forms of choices. Working with couples and like actually coaching people through this, like, what else do you think? It's this, or are there other things that are making couples kind of fail that don't need to be happening?
I think social media is hurting us a lot. And that's not to say that we shouldn't be using social media, but we should be conscious about what we're consuming, right? We have this mentality now where we see something and we just think that that's the absolute truth and we don't question it. If you're not questioning anything, you're not actually conscious. You cannot see a video on Instagram and say that's reality. And this is all happening subconsciously. So we're being programmed minute by minute on what relationships look like, what dating looks like. If you look at my account, I look perfectly polished and poised because that's what I want people to see, because that's part of my brand. Inside, I'm falling apart half the time because that's the human experience.
Yeah, and I don't think it's that you're being inauthentic, it's that you're showing a smidge.
Yes.
I would say I keep it really fucking real online. I'm having people on talking about like really deep shit and it's still not a half of my life, you know? People who are sharing their relationships probably aren't even, their priority isn't even to show up authentically because it's not their job.
Yeah. And I've had to find that sweet spot of what do I share and what do I not share. And I went through a breakup and people wanted to know because I shared my relationship pretty actively on Instagram. Now I'm in a new relationship and I don't talk about it online because I don't want people to ask me questions if it ends, or I don't want people to ask me about it.
Everyone learns that lesson in the social media space eventually.
People like really care and I don't know why.
No, I get it. Like I totally get it. I think it's just like everyone has to go through that breakup, but they're like, yep, I'm never showing a relationship until I'm married ever again.
Exactly. I was like, ring on my finger and then I'm ready to show it.
Yeah. But what other problems do you think that people have?
Communication and how you resolve conflict.
What do you see the most?
A lot of people in a lot of like male-female relationships, the man's avoidant, the woman wants to cling, right? Is more anxious. And so that destroys a relationship over time if you can't communicate, if you can't meet in the middle.
Why do you think people don't communicate? Do you just think they don't know how?
It's hard, and we don't know how.
What would you say to the avoidant when it comes to communication with their partner, and what would you say to the anxious attached?
The avoidant, you're allowed to take space, but set a time limit. So tell your partner, I need 10 minutes to go collect myself, think about what I want to say, and come back. Or if it's something really big, I need 24 hours. Let's talk about this tomorrow. That gives the anxiously attached time to just sit with that, self-regulate, learn to self-soothe on their own, because our anxious attachers are not good at that, right? But it also gives the avoidant attacher more space and then strengthens the relationship, because now there's trust and reliability that 10 minutes from now we're going to come back and repair, or tomorrow we're going to come back and repair.
Yeah. People forget that like everybody has different communication as well. Like, again, I used to be in a household where like it was very tumultuous. People were fighting, they were yelling, like it was not fucking pretty. So like when I started getting into relationships, all I knew was like yelling and fighting. Same. And then I mean, I conveniently picked the yellers as well, so I guess it worked. But like you have to relearn how to like communicate, and like you have to like set boundaries like with yourself too, not just other people. And I think it's interesting because everything we're talking about just stems back to empathy. Like if you are able to give your partner space, if you're anxiously attached, like you're extending empathy. And if like you're an avoidant and you're like, I already know they're freaking out, I need to like affirm them that like I'm gonna talk to them, that's also extending empathy.
I think people also just don't know, right? They don't know that these relationships are unhealthy. I just wrote a chapter in my book about my abusive relationship, and I said that I didn't know my relationship was abusive until it was over. I think I admitted to myself that I also abused him. It was retroactive, right? It wasn't just him abusing me. And it's not to say that I was sitting there trying to manipulate him or gaslight him. That was always initiated by him, but I also yelled. I also pushed back.
You matched the energy.
100%. And that's because I learned it in my household. Right? So I didn't think there was anything wrong with that, because I thought that's just how people communicate. But now there's no excuse. People have this podcast. People have so many resources online to learn what healthy communication looks like, to learn what a healthy relationship is. And so in my opinion, it's just, if you're with someone who doesn't know these things yet, move on.
I wanted to ask you, especially now that I know you've been in an abusive relationship, like what is the signs of like, I am with someone who I love, that loves me, and this is healthy, but we just don't know how to communicate, versus being in an actual abusive relationship?
If you're actively trying to communicate and repair, you just need to learn the skills. That's when you go to couples therapy, or that's when you go to individual therapy and just say, hey, here's where we're breaking down. Here's how a quick recap of our fights and how they typically go. What's going wrong, and can you point me in the right direction? they're concrete, tangible skills that we can learn.
And then abusive, one party does not want to do the work.
Right. If someone is fully avoidant and they're ignoring you or they're shutting you out, if someone is constantly raising their voice at you, if they're belittling you, if you walk away feeling bad about yourself, that's not a good thing. That's probably a red flag.
I feel like there are so many people who stay in abusive relationships because they're scared to leave. Working with clients, but also looking back at your own story, like what was it there and like how did you heal moving forward?
Yeah, I jumped ship and I moved to Italy.
Of course.
So we started there.
Love it.
Started there, had a nice little run in Italy. And then I came back, I started grad school, my first grad program. And I started running half marathons because why wouldn't I run away from all my problems on the pavement?
Of course. I mean, it's impressive, but like metaphorical in like a really funny way.
Oh, so metaphorical. And I actually joke because there's a gold standard trauma therapy called EMDR, and it works with bilateral movements. And bilateral is what happens when you're sleeping, right? Your eyes are moving back and forth in your head. Super creepy. But that's when your brain is processing all the information it took in during the day. And so you can bring that unconscious process to the conscious level through EMDR therapy. And I joke now that I'm a therapist and I'm trained in EMDR that I EMDR'd myself because I was thinking about my abusive relationship while running. And so think about all those movements, right? Crossing midline. And I feel so at peace with my abusive relationship. I honestly think I have since then. I think I have since I thought about it. I would talk to him when I was running. I would scream into the abyss sometimes if I was like running in the woods. And I did what I had to do to let it out, you know?
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing. I know it's very vulnerable. And especially in someone in your position, I feel like not a lot of therapists actually admit that like not everybody has it together. Because I do think there's a misconception that therapists aren't human.
Oh, yeah. 100%. People think we're like perfectly put together. Could not be further from the truth.
That's why it's cool that you're like actually like creating content online too. Yeah. Where did that start? Was it through like kind of the healing of the relationship and getting into that, or did you start before then?
No, so the relationship was my early 20s. So I was 21 when it ended. I started my account. I was probably 26, I think, 25,
okay, cool.
26. And I actually went through another breakup. It was 3 years. We were together. We were almost engaged.
Wow.
I called it off. My Saturn's return just blew everything up. I ended my relationship right before engagement. I left New York City for the first time in 5 years. I quit my job. I moved to South America. Like I did the damn thing, right?
Wow.
I blew it up. And I had started my account probably a month before that. And it blew up because the account blew up because I was human. You know, people saw me grieving one of the biggest losses of my entire life. And am I proud of all of the things that I posted during that period? Probably not. But that's what people connected with.
Yeah, and I think that you can look back and like, I sure have maybe like a regret, but you don't have to regret anything that I feel like you showed up authentically to. Yeah. Being able to extend empathy in that way too is really important.
Yeah. And a lot of my community has been there since the beginning.
That's
like
so
I recognize
powerful.
names when people comment on my stuff, when they message me. Like I know some of these people just because we've had this, I guess, one-sided relationship over the years.
If someone's listening and they are kind of asking themselves, am I in a healthy situation? Like what would you say to them?
Good question. If you have to question it, are you questioning it because of something in the relationship, or are you questioning it because you're an overthinker?
Yeah.
And maybe it's a little bit of both, right? But talk to a therapist. Talk to a therapist. They are trained in relational dynamics. They will help you.
When do you think it's time to leave? Especially when it comes to people who are really invested in like pursuing like the work in quotes and like working on their mental health and like really helping other people through their shit. Like when is it time to just be like, okay, it's not my job to fix this versus being like, no, we're like putting in work for a healthy relationship?
When one or both people aren't motivated to work on it.
Like when you're getting tired.
Yeah. Not when you're tired, because sometimes we're still fighting for it when we're tired, but you know that feeling, the switch that happens when you give up.
Like you don't care almost anymore.
Right. So you're more avoidant. You're just kind of sweeping things under the rug, pretending like they don't matter. That's probably when. But even then, if you feel like that's the first time you've hit that, give it another go, right?
Yeah.
See if you can reset the relationship. Don't just walk away from the relationship if it's something good. But eventually, if you feel that your efforts aren't getting anywhere, that's when you need to call it quits.
Do you feel like, kind of going back to our conversation around like love being a choice, like do you feel like people give up very quickly?
Yes and no. I think it's very gender based. I think women hang on a lot longer. I think men are like, this isn't for me. I don't really know what's going on in the male brain, to be completely honest, because I've tried to understand them for so many years. I work mostly with women, and the men that I work with, they're very committed to doing the work, right? Yeah. They're in therapy. So it's a different kind of dynamic from how we're conditioned as men and women. But I think people hold on to it probably longer than they should.
So you talked about how you grew up in like a very chaotic home as well when it came to communication. And obviously you picked the partner you did in your early 20s because of that. I feel like I have that history as well. Like I always like chose the wrong guy. Yeah. And I've like actively had to like work on it. And I'm like literally still single because I still struggle. Like I'm only attracted to the person that like doesn't want to commit or like is not the best choice for me. And I'm not attracted to the other. Like, do you see this a lot? Did you see it in yourself? How have you like kind of moved through that and stopped choosing that person?
Well, the question I have for you, if I can ask,
is... I'm like, I'll decide if I edit it out or not. No, I'm just kidding.
Is that younger version of you ready to hold vulnerability? Right? And it's a deeper level of vulnerability because she's already holding so much because of the work that you're doing. Is she ready to go deeper? Right? It's not adult you. Adult you knows everything. Adult you knows the relationship patterns you should be looking for, the types of people that would be good for you. It's younger you who maybe can't hold that softer, more vulnerable emotion.
No, that's deep because I feel that to be 100% true. And I also feel like I can't figure out if like the root of me not being attracted to someone who like wants me is that, or if it's because I'm not used to it, or all of the above.
Yeah. I love the inner child work because I always tell her like, take the back seat, right? This is dating. You're young. You don't date yet, right? The inner child can sit in the back seat, watch videos, whatever, play with her toys, do things that are age appropriate. The adult is going to come out and the adult is going to date. And the adult has very different thoughts, beliefs, emotions, whatever, right? The adult might be attracted to something like that.
Yeah, because the adult understands that like a feeling is not lasting and that love is a choice.
Yes.
That's good. So I'm like, speaking of the chase, I'm like, let's move it away from me. I had my therapy session. No. But I feel like this has a lot to do with the chase too. You're either on like this side of the spectrum or you're like still chasing the chase. And I'm not sure if mine is about like the chase, but I know a lot of people's is like they love the chase. They get into the relationship and then they're like, what the fuck? What happens like internally?
It's hormonal, right? It's totally hormonal. Think about when you played sports and you won a game, or think about when you really wanted something and you finally got it, right? You get this surge of dopamine, you get this surge in relationships of oxytocin, and then that dies down because it's not sustainable, right? Our nervous system gets accustomed to this other person. And so we're not feeling that hormonal cocktail that we're pumped with for the first month, 2-3 months of a relationship. That's when people mistake that drop in the brain chemistry to a lack of connection or a lack of spark. But if you consciously work on a relationship, if you have really deep and vulnerable conversations with someone and you're ready and open for that, that's hot. That spark is going to come right back. My partner sits down, wants to talk about like the meaning of life and the meaning of our relationship. And I'm like, say more.
Like, give me more existential.
And he knows, like, if I'm having a low week, he knows to book a dinner date for our weekly date night because then we could just talk, right? Yeah. And that's where I find connection through that vulnerability.
How do people who really struggle with this start to like be more hyper aware? Because I think a lot of people don't realize that that's what's happening. And so they think like, I want this person. I really want this person. I really want this person. And they get with them and then they realize, actually, I don't know if I do. Because I think it can go both ways. Like you either are chasing, you get in a relationship and it's good, but because that like period passes, you're like, wait, do I like this person? Yeah. Or it's opposite. You're chasing and you think the chase is what love is. And then you get into the relationship and you're like, fuck, I don't even think I like this person.
Which will happen, right? That does happen in relationships, even if it is a person who's a good fit for you.
Yeah.
The best thing you can do is figure out who is your ideal partner. What are their values? How do they view the world? What's their relationship like with the people around them and the world around them? And if you know that, you can approach your dating life confidently, right? You can compare. Don't compare the person you're dating to your exes. It didn't work out with your exes, right? Why are we comparing them to something that didn't work? Compare them to your ideal partner. And we're not talking about surface level things. We're not talking about interest. Maybe interest might inform lifestyle choices or things like that, but look at the nitty gritty, because what happens if an apocalypse happens next week? Who are you riding that out with?
Yeah.
Right? You're not riding that out with someone who loves tennis. You're riding that out with someone who's loyal and committed and cares for their family and who's getting in the car and going to pick everyone up.
Yeah, I always say that, like, I always am looking for my best friend.
Yes.
Because, like, I view a best friend as someone who's, like, your ride or die, that you know, like, you can trust, that will be there, that you can talk for hours with, that, like, transcends just loving them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel that way about my partner, but my partner's more avoidant, and he's scared. Right. And I have no doubt that this is the relationship for us. Like, we are so similar in every single way and are just such a good complement to each other. And yet he's scared because that voice in his head is telling him, well, what if I make the wrong decision, right? That's his inner critic inside. Whereas my inner critic, I'm more emotional. So I ride on like gut feeling and intuition. And I don't think too much. I also don't have an inner narrator in my head. I'm one of those freaks who don't have a voice. I know you talked about anxiety earlier. You're like, what?
Wait, I needed to unpack this a little bit because I've seen this on, I'm like, sorry to interrupt this story. We'll go back.
You're good.
So I've seen this post. There are some people that don't have a voice in their head. And usually the voice is like yourself, correct? Because my voice is myself, I think. So you have no voice.
Nothing. It's lights out in there.
Wait, I don't get that. How?
It's dissociation, right? So I tend to numb things out and disconnect. Every once in a while, that inner voice will come back, but it's unconscious. I'm not consciously choosing it.
So when you're hanging out or like doing things, there's not like a conversation happening at the same time. Oh my gosh, that's so interesting. Isn't there like a statistic of like there's only a certain amount of people?
It's low. I think it's less than 10%.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's absolutely crazy.
I would not have it any other way.
I'm jealous.
Couldn't last a day in an anxious person's brain. Like, I give you guys so much credit because I could never.
Oh, I'm jealous. It's at that point, and I've talked about this so much on the podcast, where like I almost view that voice inside as like a fucking sabotage. Like it's trying to sabotage me. Like, all the thoughts are me as a child. So I'm just trying to be like, you're not real, you're not real, you're not real. I almost need to practice some disassociation sometimes, like a healthy disassociation.
Real. Make it real. Characterize it. I tell my clients all the time, and this is actually not to compare you to schizophrenics, but this is schizophrenia
no, that
treatment
sounds about
too.
Right. Honestly.
But make it real. Characterize it. I have clients name their inner critic. I have clients give their inner critic a different voice, right? That Australian guy who, I don't know, works with crocodiles. I forget his name.
Hilarious. Yeah.
Right. Something funny so that it's no longer threatening. Because when it's our voice, it feels really meaningful and it feels like it has a lot of weight. Whereas if it's someone else's voice, we're like, "What? You don't know anything about my life." Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Going back to the relationship, I'm so sorry. I'm like, I made you like show us that your disassociation habits. What do you think is like a easy way that people can fight better? For me, for the longest time, I thought that like fighting was yelling until I had someone like enter my life and like display something different. And then I was like, holy shit, I can never go back to that. And now it's like very calm and very open. But like, how can people work on fighting?
2 things. Position yourself on the same team against the problem and then make it lighter. There's these videos that I saw on Instagram, and this sounds so tacky, but it's so real. There's a couple that fights with party hats on because if you were wearing a party hat right now, I wouldn't stop laughing. Cringe. And then there's another couple that fights in like Old English. And so they don't use like the way we're speaking right now. They use Old English because hilarious. It disarms them. So that way they're not trying to attack each other. They're not sitting in the emotional experience. The emotional experience that they're having is lighter.
That's so good. I feel like something that's helped me too is like the environment. I like put up boundaries with like like significant others, like we're not fighting after a certain time.
Yeah.
Like no fight is good after like 9 p.m. Like,
never when you're tired
good.
And never when you're drunk.
Yeah.
Even
no
one
drinking.
glass of wine, do not have a fight.
Even like if I could get it out of like a house or like a private area, like let's go on a walk.
Love
and talk,
a walking talk.
Because then like I know that like we are in public. Like I'm not going to like do anything
Go off
stupid.
The rails.
You're not going to do anything stupid. We're like getting out the like anger as we're walking. Like there are healthier ways to like communicate. And I do this with like friends too, where like I'll jump on the phone and like want to talk and vent about something as I'm walking. I guess to your point, it's like kind of similar to, what is it, EDMR?
EMDR, yeah.
I need to try that.
Oh, it's amazing. EMDR targets specific memories and reprocesses them in real time.
I need to do it so badly. What would you say to the person who has a fear of commitment but doesn't want to be alone?
Get over it.
Yeah, I know, right? Grow the fuck up.
That's the blanket statement. That's what I'm going to lead with. And I do say that to clients, right? I say it all the time. I'm a no bullshit therapist. And so I joke all the time with my clients and say things like that. But it's true, right? It's like, at what point are you going to confront your fear of commitment? Because I hear you. You don't want to be alone forever. And neither do I. So I got over mine.
We can intellectualize. You can know your problem. You can like complain about it. But at the end of the day, like you have to make a different choice.
Yeah. And I think people over-therapize themselves too.
Ugh.
Like, it's great to know your problems, but at that point, get over it, right?
Yeah.
Pick yourself up and keep going. Move forward. Don't sit in the suck.
What would you say to that person then? How can they handle the anxiety in the moment if they choose to move forward?
De-escalate, right? So know your patterns around the anxiety. Does your heart start to race? Can you do something like grab an ice pack or something cold, a fresh glass of water, splash water on your face to de-escalate your nervous system, right? You can cheat the system. You can learn these body hacks so that way you don't skyrocket out of control.
Yeah, I think I've gotten really good at, like I said, like not trusting my thoughts. And I think if you pay attention enough, like you know your patterns, like if it's commitment, if it's vulnerability, if it's anger, like whatever it is, like you know when it's coming. And I think there's a level of like pause that needs to be put into play where you can be like, okay, this is happening again, but obviously it's not aligned with like my true authentic desires, because I don't want to be alone forever, or I do want to have a deep connection, or, you know, I do want to show up as a normal fucking human being and not someone that's yelling. Yeah. So like if I'm going to get to that, what do I have to do to get there? And it's going to be opposite of what feels like what I should be doing.
Because that voice in your head is telling you something that it learned through unpleasant experiences. But even therapists disagree with it. A lot of therapists will say too, like, it's not that simple, right? Anxiety therapy is not that simple. It's not just don't listen to that voice. It is, right? It is. Yes, you can calm the voice. You can reframe it all you want, but it's going to keep coming back unless you get to that root cause, or unless you create new neural pathways to listen to something different. Yeah. When you're on the subway and someone's screaming into the abyss in the corner, you're not listening, you're tuning it out. Tune out that voice in your head. It is that simple. Maybe it's hard to do. Totally empathize and understand that, but eventually you have to learn how to tune it out.
Yeah, I think that's so powerful, because I say it all the time, and I think people get really fucking triggered when you talk about like anxiety and depression in this way. And as someone who has been there and was so fucking low, like you do kind of have to like realize that nothing's gonna change. Like a light switch is not gonna go off. Like you have to kind of make a choice to show up for yourself and for relationships in a certain way. If you don't, like, I guess you'll hit the end of your life with like a lot of fucking regret. Yeah. And it turns into empowerment. Like it's fucking hard, but it is simple. Yes. And it gets easier.
Beautifully
but it's
put.
Hard. Yeah. It's definitely hard.
Oh, I love that. It's hard, but it's simple. That's so perfectly put.
Like you have to be able to extend empathy for yourself and others, and like doing something hard is like a form of like empowerment and empathy.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it also teaches you where your edges are. And those edges are always growing through new experiences. So if you're afraid of your anxiety, fine, there's your edge, right? Can you get more comfortable with your anxiety? Now you've grown as a person, right? And if we keep ourselves small, if you're triggered by someone saying, just stop listening to the voice, you're listening way too much.
I had to like start removing the charge away from these triggers and the voice, because it had so much power over me. And I just realized like it's not, I just have to believe it's not true. Yeah. And I know that is easier said than done. It takes repetition. You have to create new evidence.
Yeah. Yeah. And the more you have positive experiences and you really lean into that, the more your intuition grows. And then you can separate out this is anxiety versus this is intuition.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like, how can you tell the difference if you're in a relationship? I do have like a touch of like relationship OCD. Like, it's very obvious to me.
I feel that.
I feel like it took a long time to like figure out, like, is this just me freaking out because of like my mental illness, or is this a sign that I should leave?
So valid.
Because I feel like I'm a very intuitive person, and it's hard to tell the difference between the voices.
Yeah, so it's funny because mine, I do the exact same thing, but mine is not should I leave, it's does this person hate me?
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like I really convince myself that my partner doesn't like me, is not interested in me. I need that constant reassurance. And thank God I love him to death. Like he really put up with that in the first few months. And communication will help you get around that, right? When I felt, he put it so perfectly. He was like, I don't want you doing all this mental labor where you're thinking through different scenarios and trying to create an assumption or a story in your head. Just ask me. If you're not sure if I'm into this or if I'm invested, ask me. Let me tell you whether I am or not. And I think that is a testament to someone who has really great communication skills. And I don't think he would say he does. If I asked him right now, he would probably say his communication's mediocre. But he is so far ahead of where I am when it comes to emotions and communication in relationships. And we have to be able to notice, okay, what's something that I can do to counteract the voice in my head? And do I get relief from that? And if you don't get relief from that, do something else.
That's so powerful, because I feel like something that's very interesting about the way I've maneuvered like that anxiety, because I really actually don't feel like I struggle with anxiety very much anymore, which is insane for me to say.
How does it feel to say that?
Really fucking good. But I worked really fucking hard. So I'm like, you know what?
You're like really fucking good, but really fucking exhausted.
Do the work. No, but like something that I've learned that helps me is like, it's so funny because it kind of goes hand in hand with like one of my biggest fears, which is vulnerability. And I've just I've spent so much of my life like not being able to trust anyone, not being able to be vulnerable, feeling like my feelings were too much, and like I couldn't communicate. And I know you understand too, like being the trailblazer. But like I've realized that like when I utilize that, you know, skill, even though it's fucking scary, I cut out the noise of the anxiety. Because if something happens, like let's say I like get in a fight with someone, or some type of situation happens with like a partner or a significant other, even like a best friend. Yeah. Instead of ruminating, if I just like choose to be vulnerable, even though it's really scary, I take away like days of anxiety. So I think it's about like picking your heart. I know that if we just got into a fight and like I went to bed and now I'm waking up, if I do not call, apologize, or like be like, you hurt me, let's talk about it, even though that's so incredibly scary, like I'm gonna spend the next week like so anxious, it's not even worth it. I would rather just like be vulnerable, be scared, rather than be anxious.
Our anxiety tries to avoid the outcomes, whereas leaning into the hard thing, right? Like you said, doing the hard, you're confronting that outcome head on. And the more you confront an outcome, the easier the acceptance of that outcome is, right? My partner and I, when we talked about, like, I'm 29. I don't want to freeze my eggs. Long story, a lot of health anxiety. I would not survive that mentally, emotionally, or physically. So we're talking about, you know, this is a new relationship. We're about 6 months in. Do we see this going anywhere? Do we see kids in the next 2 or 3 years? And those are really hard conversations to have with someone you love so much, because that relationship could end at any point when you're having those conversations. But by having those conversations, I'm building trust in myself to make a good decision. Yeah. Whereas previously, the anxiety would have told me, you need to cling on to this relationship, because if you don't cling on to this relationship, you might not have kids, right? Or anxiety might tell you, this person's going to leave me if we have this hard conversation. Yeah. Whereas if you have the hard conversation, the person respects you more for saying that, and your relationship deepens because you're having a hard conversation.
Yeah, I feel like communication is something that like you have to like kind of like step off the edge and like hope for the best. And then the more times you build up those examples and you have like a successful conversation, the easier it gets. Because even now, I feel like I have no problem communicating anymore. And I have girlfriends that will be like, I'm so like jealous that you have such amazing communication. And I'm like, don't be jealous, just do it. Because like I didn't for so long, and I was so scared to say how I felt, because for so long it was invalidated to even have feelings. Like, and it always, especially in my last relationship, which was super emotionally abusive, I would like say how I felt about something, like, or like want an apology or like a validation that like something that happened was inappropriate and wrong. And it was just this huge fight. So I became like so scared of confrontation. And then simultaneously, like, I was working through my own healing and like noted how like much I like raised my voice and was yelly. So then I got scared. So I just became so hyper avoidant because I was like, I'm scared to be a bad version of myself. I'm scared to get yelled at by everybody else. So I'm just going to like be silent. I don't know. I talk all the time about like if you're violating your conscience, like anxiety will be there. If you're violating your conscience, depression will start to form. And I think that was like my entire life. And so to me, I'm now just like, you know, communication sucks. It's really hard to be vulnerable. But like what sucks more is, you know, being anxious and being depressed and living in my head. Like I can't do it. I will go fucking crazy.
Oh God, no. I also think when you confront it head on, you don't have an opportunity for communication to spiral out of control. You're not going to start screaming at each other if you're already having the conversation.
Yeah.
Right? We yell at each other, we withdraw, we isolate because we're avoiding that conversation. So if you just have it, right? I can't imagine screaming at my partner because I just talk to him if I have an issue, you know?
Yeah. What are some things you can do to nurture a relationship that are super fucking easy?
A lot of consistency, right? My partner and I have a weekly date night every Thursday, which is why you caught me at a good time because you would have interfered with date night. So I'm going to date night after this. Consistency, right? So that would be something that's consistent and it consistently builds connection. And then consistent communication. It always comes back to consistency too, right? Like if you feel you have a lot of anxiety in relationships, do a weekly check-in. Do a 20-minute check-in where you say, hey, what went really well in our relationship this week and what do we want to work on next week? It's no different than a business relationship, right? If you have a Monday morning meeting at 10 a.m. every week with your boss, have one with your partner.
What would you say to the person who's really struggling to step into a vulnerable relationship because of their past, because they've been in an abusive relationship? Maybe they grew up in like chaotic home like I did, or maybe they have experienced an abusive relationship like you did in your early 20s.
Do the work. And that doesn't mean that you need to be healed before you can be in a healthy relationship. You're going to heal a lot more in relationship than you do solo, but there's still a really big piece of the puzzle that happens alone.
What do you say to the person that's like, if you have to go to couples therapy, then you shouldn't be together?
Oh, I won't get married if I don't go to couples therapy. That's a huge transition. And it's not one I'm trying to ride out with myself and my partner. There's so much stigma about couples therapy because a lot of couples come to therapy in crisis, right? Their relationship's already falling apart. If you go to couples therapy proactively, that's your weekly check-in, or maybe it's bi-weekly. Maybe it's once a month if you have a good relationship. Maybe in those sessions, instead of talking about how shit your relationship is because you never worked on it, maybe you're talking about what's this future we want to build together. And you're doing so with a therapist who knows how to adapt your relationship in the future to your shared vision.
If you were to give us a little like sneak peek of the book, The Empathy Deficit, like what do you want people to know about this book that they can bring into their relationships now?
The smallest thing you can do is to notice people. That's it. Look them in the eyes, say good morning, say good night, whether it's your partner, right? Think about how we just turn over and go to bed. Say good night. When you're walking past someone on the street, if you see them every other day because they live in your neighborhood, say hello. Right? Connect with people. We complain about how we're so lonely, we're isolated, we're this, we're that, because we ignore everyone. What if you just said hello? What if you asked the barista when you were getting your coffee, how's your day going? Now you connected. Now you're leaving that coffee shop beaming because you're so happy that you just connected with someone and maybe it was a 2-second conversation that had no real impact on your life.
Yeah. I feel like a huge part of the struggle I had as like a child and through my teens and through college was that I felt so unseen. And of course that was like a result of my experience and everything I'd been through, but I just wonder if like more people would have like checked in and actually like said hi and like tried to make that interaction with me. And I'm sure there were people who did and I just was like checked out. But I do think to your point, we live in a like unempathetic culture.
Oh yeah.
How Han sees it is my page, like how I see it is the podcast. And it was so subconscious, like I didn't realize that I was naming the pod and my account this because I felt so unseen.
That's beautiful.
Thanks. It's so weird.
Like wish it didn't take all this to get there. But.
I know, right? No, I'm thankful now, and that took a long time too. But I think like I felt so unseen, and I think that when you meet people where they are, it's so. And I'm sure this happens to you as a therapist. Like so many people trauma dump on me like all the time, and I think it's because I'm putting out an energy that like I'm willing to see you and like meet you there. And I think the reason why trauma dumping happens in that way is because not enough people do that. So it's like this energy where people are like, oh my God, I can unload.
Yeah.
And if we just took more time to like check in, even with the people around us that we care about, I think we would have less trauma dumping, and everyone would be like a little bit more understanding and curious when people piss them off, for lack of a better word, than, I don't know, jumping to conclusions, getting angry, starting fights.
Yeah. I even hate the word trauma dumping. If your best friend is coming to you and they're telling you about something really hard, they're not trauma dumping on you. They're talking to you because that's what a relationship is. It's dynamic, right? There's two
I'm talking
sides.
about like the randos in the coffee shop.
Yeah, that's absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I let it happen though because I'm like, it makes me sad because I'm like, no one sees you, and like I just extended that energetically, so now you're doing it. But yeah, I agree with you. Like it's not trauma dumping if you're engaging in a relationship.
To think that it is now.
Yeah,
right?
Especially with the rise of socials and everyone talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah, pop psychology is not helping us. It's helping us get the information out, but now it's getting so twisted.
I was going to say, how do you navigate the social world being a therapist and not giving into that? Because I do think there's a lot of like hyper fixation on mental illness and kind of what we were talking about of like kind of being a victim in your mental illness as well. And I think social media is a beautiful place where we get to like find inspiration, motivation, feel less alone, especially with podcasts like this. But like it also can be kind of dangerous to be like fed over and over and over therapized.
Yeah. Honestly, I ignore it. It's not the fight that I want to fight. The fight I want to fight is connection and
like,
bringing
I'm
people
tired.
together. Exactly. I do enough of that in my day-to-day as a therapist. I can't save the world, but I can change the people in my community. Right.
That just sparked a question for me. What would you say to the girl, aka I'm that girl, who wants to fix everyone?
Don't. Fix yourself first.
Yeah. But what if I'm doing that and I want it to fix everyone too?
You can't. You have to accept that. Because the more you try to fix everyone else, the more stress you're going to cause for yourself and for everyone around you.
No, I caught myself like hitting like a depressive like episode like last year. Which I hadn't struggled with depression in a really long time, which I'm really proud to say. That's something I like never thought
Can't relate. I'm so proud of you.
Thanks. It's just, again, it's just the
Me
work.
on my 2 meds a day.
I know. Yeah. It's a lot. But I like found like myself there again. And I was like, well, what is going on? And I just realized that I was like put so much expectation on everybody else to like hit the standard that I felt they should be at.
Yeah.
And I do think it came from a place of like wanting to fix everyone. I couldn't fix like my parents, like couldn't fix my situation. So like I want to fix everybody else. But also like you don't want to lose people.
Yeah.
I think as well. When you're in such a place of deregulation, like, and you don't feel like people see you, when you finally find those people, it's so hard to like let go because it's like a safety blanket almost because you never had it. I noticed how sick it was making me again.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the fuck? And it's hard. You have to grieve it. You have to like grieve not being able to change everybody. This is why I can't be a therapist.
For sure. Honestly, I think therapy taught me that.
Oh, okay.
I think I very much, and I always say that this book is going to be the most rewarding and fulfilling thing I will ever do in my career. And it's the first book I've ever written. I might write more. I don't think they will even compare to this because this is my life's mission. This is what I was trying to do in my family system since I was 3 years old and could form sentences, right? So this is meaningful work, and this is my attempt at changing the world. I know that I can't overexert myself and I can't actually change the world, but maybe I write a bestseller. Maybe I write a book like Mel Robbins that everyone's buying and everyone's reading and talking about online. Maybe that creates some small change in the world, and then you trust the process that it's just going to unfold the way it's supposed to.
That's so good. That's so good. I'm excited. I want to read this book.
I can't wait. I need
to like be a part of everything now moving forward.
I'm excited.
I ask everyone before they leave the pod, looking back at the journey you've been on, the healing journey, the business journey, now the book, how do you see it?
Man, when I really look back, I feel like I blinked. I just signed an office lease yesterday and I walked away saying, what the fuck did I just do? Like,
I love that though.
I'm paying more in rent than I used to make in a year.
Wow.
And it's like, whoa. I'm like at a loss for words right now because I haven't even processed that fully yet. And I actually think, I'm like processing in real time now. I think that I create each new milestone to check something off, not because I feel like it's something I have to do, but because it stops me from thinking about all of this. You know, because when I sit here and think about everything I've done, like, I'm a badass bitch.
I love that.
And I can't believe I did half of the things that I've done.
Yeah.
But I don't want to sit with that because that's scary for me. That's vulnerable. Right?
It feels like wrong.
Yeah.
I think women really struggle with this.
Yes. And I think, you know, when you live in a chaotic household, I don't know about you, but I was always taught that I was doing something wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Every single thing. And now my parents are like, well, she was right. Thank
God.
God.
That's a great feeling.
Thank God.
Yeah, that's like a completely different episode. Like the existential crises behind like what is good and what is bad, what is right and what is wrong.
Yep.
And like what makes me a good daughter, friend, girlfriend,
I am the full representation of who I was when I was young. And I'm so damn proud of that. But also, like, how the fuck did we get here?
Yeah, that's so cool. I love that you ended it that way because I do think we need to be better at like sitting in the moment and be like, I'm so fucking damn proud of myself for like making it here. And I'm trying to do better at that. Like, always like being empathetic to the best of my ability and always trying to be humble, but also not being humble about how far I've come and like what I've overcome.
There's no such thing as humble when you come from trauma because you did that.
Yeah, and I don't think you have to be humble around your healing.
No.
You should be humble around like, you know, the things you have and what you're doing. But I don't think anyone needs to be humble about healing.
No. Heal loudly. Celebrate your success because you accomplished something, not because you have X amount of money, not because you do X, Y, Z, but because you achieved that thing, right? I'm not sitting here saying, I make X amount of money in a year. I'm sitting here saying, I'm paying more in rent because I'm building a business that's changing lives, right?
Yeah, and you're aligned. You found your purpose, or you went back to your purpose because it seems like you've always known.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's so good. It was so good talking to you. Thank you so much for like just coming and doing this and being here with me without us even talking before. So we just raw dogged the episode. Fun. Please share where people can find you and where people can work with you. I know you have the book coming and the Substack and all of that.
All the things. My Instagram is @LauraCaruso.therapy. I have a podcast called Safe Space. It just lives in my typical Instagram. So it's all under one house. I talk about the book all the time. If you join my broadcast channel on Instagram, you'll get sneak peeks of the book. And we'll go from there.
Thank you so much.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I hope you leave here feeling motivated and inspired. Do not forget to rate and review the pod on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and don't forget to follow How I See It Pod so you can keep up with podcast updates and see who's coming on next. And if you're not already, come join the fam and follow @HowHan Sees It. Thank you guys.